Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Molly,
I'm Michael.
and today we're going to be talking about the Traitors episode 6. And we are so excited to talk about this. This week we weren't anticipating talking about the Traitors, but because of this episode coming out being such a crazy one, we could not miss it. So, I'm excited to talk about it.
Oh, I am too. Yeah, I texted you right after I finished this episode, and I was like, Molly, we have to talk about it this week. I don't care. We're gonna fit in an hour here to talk about this because it was. I mean, maybe a hot take. I think the best episode of The Traders I've ever seen.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I felt like throughout the episode, like I thought we were done with the drama and then there was more and more coming every part of it. So it just made for an exciting episode. But we can start with the very beginning of this episode when it starts with the traders in the turret and Carolyn confronts Danielle about trying to get her banished. And then Danielle says it was because she didn't come for her about Jeremy, and then, or she didn't come to her about Jeremy, and then Rob tries to keep the peace, and Danielle apologizes, and then says she'll make it right. So there was a lot going on there. Carolyn still felt like not that she felt like she couldn't trust Danielle like she could before after hearing that her name was being spread around from Danielle. So it seemed like Danielle was just trying to make amends there, but Carolyn was not having it. And Rob was like, oh my gosh, we're broken. But it made for an exciting turret. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame Carolyn. She just got this information from Dylan. If you remember, at the end of the last episode, that was kind of our cliffhanger. And yeah, I mean, if you hear that your fellow trader is spreading your name around, that's red flag, red flag, red flag. Like, do not trust her. She is trying to get me out, and for whatever reason, we know that it's because she wants to be able to hopefully recruit somebody that she can trust more to be a traitor with her to get Rob out eventually. But yeah, I mean, if I was Carolyn, I wouldn't trust Danielle after this. I would be doing exactly what she was doing, and mounting a counter defense and trying to get Danielle out. So that's all you can really do.
Yeah, agreed. I feel like, I mean, we obviously see later in the episode that they're basically all just going at each other at this point. So this, I felt like, set this episode up for us to anticipate what was going to go down later on as well.
Yeah, I mean,
But
obviously, there's more to come with Danielle. I mean, Carolyn hearing more about what
mhm,
Danielle is saying, but even at this point, one thing is enough. If you believe it, if and there's no reason for Dylan to lie about that. He doesn't know that Danielle is a fellow traitor. So I think that absolutely this was enough for Carolyn to start thinking that way, and then everything else we see in this episode just kind of confirms that for her.
yeah, for sure. But the traders agreed to banish Bob Harper, or not banish, murder. We got to murder him first. But so Bob Harper was murdered, which I feel like was the safe way here to go because I mean, obviously Rob is feeling like people are coming for him, and Bob was one of those people. But then that just made more people more suspicious of Rob being a traitor from this murder. So, did you think this was the right move?
I really don't, honestly, because I think that at least for Rob, I mean, for Carolyn and Danielle, sure, but for Rob, I don't, because I do think that it really, people that were already suspicious of him, this just kind of made those suspicions grow stronger because Bob mentioned him specifically at the round table. And I feel like eventually on the traders, we will get to the point where murdering somebody who specifically came after you is the right move because people will think that it'll be kind of this like reverse psychology where it's like, okay, the obvious thing to do would be for to murder somebody who came after you, but everybody knows that that's too obvious at this point, so nobody's doing it anymore. So then actually doing it will make you less suspicious, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense at all.
No, yeah, I followed.
But I don't think we're at that point yet, because I don't think that these players are thinking that far ahead. I think they're still at the point of thinking like, oh, if somebody comes after you, it's too obvious to kill them. But I
Yeah.
think like in season, 7, 8, 9 plus, we might get a little bit more of that, like where people do that because they think that actually somehow makes it less obvious. But I just don't think we're there yet. So I do think that that was probably the wrong move for him.
Yeah, and I don't know, I feel like everyone really loved Bob Age in the house, so it kind of felt sad when he left, and also right before he came in when they were, like, all discussing, "Oh, if it's Bob Age, it's definitely Rob's a traitor," like, that did not look good either,
Yeah.
so
And I mean, look, I mean, spoiler alert, it works out for him,
yeah,
kind of, but he did get a lot of votes. So
yeah,
I don't know that it really worked out for him. I mean, well, I guess we'll have to see, like, in an episode or two, if he's still around. Sure, we can look back at this and say, obviously, it worked. But I think right now, the way that I feel about it is like, yes, you didn't go home, but you were this close to. And I think if he had maybe murdered somebody else who wasn't so obviously coming after him, he may not have gotten as many votes. It may not have come so close. So I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think in my mind, I don't think I would have made that move.
yeah, I agree. But then we get some more suspicions on who could be the traitor. So Tom Sandoval tells Brittany he thinks it's Dolores, which why his reasonings there were just comical. It was like, nope, Tom, you're way off there.
I mean, from day one, we saw him say Chriselle's name just because she's friends with Ariana, apparently. And I mean, I don't know that we've ever seen Tom in 6 episodes make a right guess about a
No,
traitor.
no,
I mean, I don't know. I don't have the stats right in front of me of whether he's ever voted correctly, but like, he's never come up with a good plan, which
no,
tracks.
yeah,
And honestly, I love how these cast members are treating him. Like they're just treating his theories as if they are coming from somebody who like is not even playing the game and has no idea what they're talking about, which is exactly what they should be treating it as. They should not be taking anything he says seriously. And I love the fact that they just all kind of have this agreement that they know that, okay, Tom, like, okay, grandpa, go to bed.
yeah.
I love it.
I know. And it's funny then when Brittany is talking to him there and she's just very much just like, "What are you even saying?" Like trying to just tell Tom that he's basically stupid, which he is.
It's so funny coming from Brittany. Like Brittany was the best person to like have react to Tom, because this is like watching Brittany react to Rachel Riley in 2010. Like it's the best. She has the best reactions. Like that's what she's so good with, is just her diary rooms or confessionals, like her reactions, her eye rolls, everything. That's what she is best at. And so having her play on opposite of Tom Sandoval in that sense is so perfect. I couldn't ask for anything better.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That was a great moment. And then we also see that Rob tells Dolores and Ivar that he thinks that Wes is a traitor. So this is Rob trying to put down the seeds here to put the suspicion away from him for a little bit, and target more towards Wes. So do you think that strategy was good in that moment?
Yeah, I mean it worked
Yeah.
eventually. He was planting the seed here, and I but here's my question: is we're seeing these cage boys go after each other in this episode finally, and Derek and Wes are going after Rob's going after Wes. I don't know whether that's a good strategy or not, because there is this theory going around the castle that one of the cage boys is probably a traitor. Of
Yeah.
those three that came in episode 2, that probably one of them was made a traitor. So you would think, in theory, that the three of them should try to keep each other in, because if one of them goes out and they're a faithful, then there's only two. Then there's a 50-50 chance for the rest of the castle to look at these two and think, well, one of them's probably a traitor. So then your odds only go up of being caught as a traitor if, you're one of two versus one of three.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, I think that Wes and Derek are pretty convinced by this point that Rob is a traitor. And so I think their thought is that, okay, we will get Rob out, and then we're pretty much scot free in terms of like, we're pretty much confirmed faithfuls at that point because they're not going to make two of them traitors in episode two. They're not going to have two of those three come in as traitors. That would mean that they started out with like one, probably. Like, that's probably didn't happen.
Mhm.
So but then I think about the fact that, okay, well, if then they're the confirmed faithfuls, then they're just going to get murdered. Like they're the obvious ones to murder because they're nobody's suspicious of them. So I don't know. I don't think it's a good strategy for any of those three to be going after each other. Probably at the end of the day. So I think that while it ends up working for Rob, I can't really say that I think it was a great move for him to get Wes out here. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either because I feel like obviously when I was seeing Derek and Wes talking about trying to get out Rob, like their reasoning obviously like they had the facts and were able to put pieces together that were really suspicious towards Rob. So it definitely felt like they were pretty sure Rob was a traitor, but that they were scared to go after him because Rob could then murder them as
Yeah.
well. So they were trying to teeter on that line, but I don't know. I feel like it's hard to go up against the traitor anyways. Like people are, it's gonna get around at some point and they're gonna bring it up. Obviously, they brought up the round table, so then Rob is gonna go extra hard against Wes just to make sure that he's safe and that Wes is the one that's more the target there. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It was crazy, crazy times. But
Yeah.
we'll get to more of that later. But next up in the episode was when we see Brittany tell Carolyn that someone told her, she said someone told her that her name was said to Brittany. And then Carolyn denies it and then realizes it was Danielle. So obviously, I mean, I love Carolyn's reactions because all of her, "Oh my gosh, like what? Like can't believe that."
Yeah.
But it's just like obviously like we know that's Carolyn's reactions and how she does those, but maybe some other people might be thinking that might be a little bit over the top, but Brittany and Carolyn are close, so like Brittany doesn't think that's over the top.
Yeah,
So
like, I mean, I think that if I were in there, I don't know, would I think that somebody being that, like, over the top about their name coming up, that would I don't know if I would think that that was, like, traitor on traitor, say, like, violence. I would hope that I would be that smart to think, like, "Oh, this is a little over the top," like, maybe that's because this is a traitor going after another traitor, but I don't know that I would be that smart.
yeah, I don't think I would either. I think in that moment it just like is her initial reaction and that's what happened.
Yeah, because
Um
it's Carolyn.
yeah.
Like, that's just Carolyn,
Yeah.
Like, that's the great thing about her in this game and why she's so, like, amazing at it is because all of her reactions are just her. Like,
Mhm.
nothing looks suspicious on Carolyn.
No. Yeah, but that's what I love about her. But we obviously see Carolyn get really upset about that though, and then later
Yeah.
on she does talk to
I think Oh, sorry.
Danielle about it. But oh, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, I think that Brittany here is very, very afraid to go after Danielle Reyes
Mhm.
about anything in this game because of what happened on Reindeer Games.
Oh
Because she was so like, she ended up, obviously, as we know, basically getting Danielle eliminated from that, and it turns out that Danielle wasn't doing in that case what Brittany thought she was doing in terms of trying to kind of betray their alliance. From what we could tell by the edited episode, at least, Danielle, like, Brittany was very paranoid about Danielle running around and kind of working both sides of the house, but she really wasn't doing that. And so Brittany, for the last 2 years, has been so apologetic and, like, regretful about the way that went down. And so I think that here she's like terrified to do anything against Danielle. Like, whether it's good or bad for her game, she's going to be loyal to Danielle. And so I think that's why here, like, she was, very sure to not say Danielle's name. And then at the round table to make sure Danielle knew that Brittany did not say her name. Like,
yeah.
very afraid. And think if that hadn't happened, if Reindeer Games was out of the picture, that Brittany probably would be looking at Danielle a lot closer.
Oh, yeah, agreed. I feel like that definitely, I mean, that made their relationship a little more rocky in that moment. Obviously, not they've been able to repair it here, but I don't think there's fully that level of trust and like that they can, or at least Brittany doesn't want to step on her toes there and like
Yeah.
ruffle any feathers. So we see that in this episode for sure. But next up, we have the mission. So for this mission, they have to topple the ultimate traitor for $30,000, and they are hidden in the woods. They have 20 locked crates, and they have to open them up, but they have to answer number-based questions. And it's related to things from the season or just Alan's last name, like random things. Um,
Something
but
related to
7
the show in some way. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But then 17 of those crates contain hundreds of pounds of gunpowder that they must bring back, and then the other 3 contain shields. So after 30 minutes, Alan will press down on the detonator, and if they brought back each enough gunpowder, then there will be an explosion big enough to topple the traitor, and the mission was successful. So they got all the gunpowder they needed, and they also got the 3 shields. So they were split into 3 different teams, and of those teams, one person from each of those groups got those shields. So we saw Carolyn get it, which she just grabbed it. She got it out. She was like, "I'm gonna take it." And
That was
Danielle never took
very Janelle from last season, if you remember. I think
yeah.
she and Ekin-Su were fighting over the shield. That reminded me of that a lot.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was funny because I also, like, I feel bad for Carolyn right now because she and Danielle are going at it, and then, like, I was like, "Yeah, Carolyn deserves it." Also, as we are talking about last week, like, the traders, it's good for them, or 2 weeks ago, it's good for them to get a shield because then it prevents someone else from being able to be, like, eliminated from the voting people because, or
Mhm.
of the people they can get out, because for murdering, it allows them to have more people to have an option for. So it makes sense that Carolyn took it here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, like,
Yeah.
I would if I were her too, if whether I was a faithful or a traitor. I
Yeah.
mean, it expands the options that the traders have if you're a traitor, and obviously it keeps you safe if you're a faithful. So, I mean, I think it's useful both ways, even if, a traitor might not obviously, might not try as hard for it, of course. But, I think if you have it, you have it. I think
Yeah.
it would look really suspicious if she just kind of gave it up really easily like that.
Oh, for
Same here.
sure.
That would be like Danielle Reyes in the last challenge last week.
And, don't repeat that one.
No.
But she still skates by. And then Chriselle gets it for her group, and then Dylan for his group, and we see Dylan's superpowers of rock, paper, scissors.
Mhm.
Which he was like,
Yeah. He
"Somehow I
competed in
just"
a tournament.
yeah, which is kind of a smart thing, I think. You just have to, like, anticipate what other people are gonna guess, and he just understands people. I don't know.
That's my
But
type of tournament, though. Something that you literally can't prepare for. There's no training, right? I mean, how could you train for that? I love a
well, you just
tournament
think
that I don't
about
have
the
to train
odds, like
for.
how many times that they have done a certain rock, paper, or scissor, and then I don't know, there's math related to it. Maybe he's more technical than we think.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
maybe. But I still feel like I could go in there and just pretend to have done that.
yeah,
Like, I feel like I could just be like, "Well, I just sensed that I thought you were gonna do paper, so I did scissors." Like,
you
I
could
just
just
got a
guess.
vibe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I played rock, paper, scissors most recently when I was playing an intramural softball team, and they told me to go play rock, paper, scissors, and I won. So then we gotta choose the side, or if we wanted to be the home or away, which obviously we chose home.
Hmm.
So I think
Look at you, a regular Dylan Efron.
I think I could go against Dylan Efron and see who wins.
Molly Efron has a nice ring to it,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think also obviously we didn't see, like, each of those teams didn't say who got the shields. So that's gonna be interesting because I don't know if anyone's gonna talk about it. I feel like once they got back, like, to the castle, I didn't see anyone really talking about the shields anymore. I mean, there were obviously a lot of other things we were seeing in the show, so maybe this episode was already just jam-packed that maybe those
Yeah.
conversations were happening, but we just didn't get to see it.
I think that's it.
But
Yeah.
I think and,
I
like,
think
they
there's
weren't
just
that big of a
there's too
deal.
much going on, like, the episode was already pretty long. I think that they just this would have been something in a normal episode that we would have seen more of, and that would have been a lot of the drama of, like, "Oh, are they gonna potentially try to murder somebody who has a shield?"
Yeah.
But that's the least of our concerns this episode.
Oh, for sure.
So, I think that that is just kind of got lost in the edit bay, but I'm sure that we will see more of that probably at breakfast tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Yeah, because they haven't had their actual I mean, we at the end of the episode, they do talk about things well, we didn't really see talking about who they wanna murder because they all wanna murder each other.
Yeah,
But I
but
feel
Carolyn's
like
safe. Even if they try to murder each other, Carolyn has a shield.
yeah, exactly. So Carolyn is safe there. Yeah, they're obviously before the roundtable starts, there's the campaigning going around and trying to get people to vote for who they want to vote for. So Wes and Derek are trying to gather the votes for Rob, while Rob is starting to get people to want to vote for Wes. So obviously lots of talk there, but till we get to the roundtable is when the real juicy stuff comes out, I feel like. Uh,
Yeah, I honestly, at this moment in the episode, I really thought Rob was going home here
yeah.
because we have never seen Derek Levasseur not get his way before. And I really thought that this was setting up for a Derek takedown of Rob. And obviously that didn't happen. But I'm just so used to seeing, I mean, on Big Brother 16, Derek got his way the entire season. On Big Brother 22, Derek wasn't even on the season and he was getting his way every time via Cody. So, I mean, we've just never seen Derek lose before, really. And so this was kind of shocking. But yeah, at this point in the episode, I really thought that Wes and Derek were going to take down Rob.
I thought so too. Like I was actually kind of rooting for it
Hmm.
because I was like, wow, are they actually going to make this big move and make it work? But Rob is too strong.
I
But
was rooting for it because I really wanted to see Danielle and Carolyn in the turret together without a mediator. Just put
that
them
would have
in
been
there,
great.
give them boxing gloves, have at it.
I know that I would have loved to see that. Maybe next week we'll maybe see that.
Maybe next week.
Unless they recruit a new trader this week. But okay, sorry, getting ahead of it. But we start off this roundtable with Dolores starting off with saying, defending herself against Tom's accusations of saying that she was a traitor and basically calling Tom a bad faithful and that, like, just calling him out. And I love the moments here of like, just all of the shit talking against Tom has been great with Dolores and Tom. This episode was just, it closed it out. So it was great.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love Dolores saying here, like, okay, Tom, no, I want you to say what you need to say because it's going to sound stupid and nobody's going to believe it. So have at it. Like, I love that. I mean, like I said before, I just love the way that this whole group is treating Rob. I mean, Tom, because this is the way that they should have treated him on Vanderpump Rules season 11.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Lala ruined that. So.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like this just kind of closed any suspicion on Dolores too. Like everyone was like, why did you even talk about this here? Like it wasn't relevant, but it was a good way to start it out, I guess, before the juicy parts came up.
I'm just
Which
imagining everything else happening, like the Carolyn and Danielle of it all, and then at the very end of the round table, Rob trying to put suspicion on Dolores. That would have honestly been even funnier to me.
wait,
Like
that
after all of that heated, like passionate debate back and forth, and Tom's like, "I think it's Dolores Catania."
I know. I feel like obviously like that would have just closed it up, but we didn't get that part of it. But
Close
then
enough. I'll take
close,
I'll
close
take it.
yeah. We can just imagine that happened.
Yeah.
But Derek does shift the conversation to focus on Rob. And then Rob actually has a good defense on him. Like I feel like his comeback here was good, and then because he turns it to Wes as being the one who was throwing out the names of everyone who was being discussed, and that Wes, like, just has been aggressive with people or in general, just, like, getting people to vote, and the conversations do veer towards accusing Wes now, which I was surprised how many people were going on board with Rob in this moment that I was like, "Oh my gosh, I thought everyone was thinking that he was the traitor. Why is not everyone thinking the Wes is the traitor?" So, I
Yeah.
don't know. What were your thoughts on this? Also, well, Wes also says that he's got his eye on whoever votes for him, which that doesn't sit right with many people. So, there were just
Yeah.
some speculations here, but obviously, I mean, we know Wes is not a traitor. He's just trying to get everyone on his side, and that's his way of doing it, and that's his personality, and he's just cocky about it also, which I
Yeah.
mean, if you're a traitor, you don't really wanna be that cocky, so and he had a good point about that. He's like, I would be a really bad traitor because I wouldn't be so aggressive about these opinions if I were a traitor."
Mhm.
So I don't know, but what were your general thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that this is my theory on this, is that I think this is a case of knowing your audience. And I don't think that Wes knew his audience very well the way that he was talking here, because
Mhm,
this group is full of, I think, really strong women who hate controlling men. You have Sierra Miller, who famously on Summer House has dealt with people like Austin Kroll and, like Luke and, all these guys who have big egos and don't and Sierra doesn't handle that very well. I mean, not handle it very well. She doesn't like guys like that. You have Gabby, who famously, has been wronged by men in the past and, is even, now not even with a man anymore. And you have Chriselle, who also has dealt with guys like this and gotten divorced. And like, I think just famously, like, these are women who don't handle guys like that well. And I think that Wes being so cocky and saying, like, oh, I'm going to, you're going to regret it if you put my name down. I think that those are the type of women who, whether they actually believe he's a traitor or not, are just going to vote for him because they don't like the way he's talking to them. And so I think that any chance that he had of getting their votes, I think he just kind of ruined by talking the way he did. And, I think that Rob was very smart in kind of like shifting the focus, like you said, onto Wes. And I think that he kind of did the same thing that he did with Bob the Drag Queen, where he just kind of like built it up in his speech and like was like, this guy did this and there's this guy that did that. And then just like kind of like, who is he talking about? And then he says the name and it's just like everybody turns to that person. I think that's a really smart way to do it, where it really does get the focus off of you.
mhm.
And I mean, I think he did prepared that well, and it worked. He got a lot of votes still, but it wasn't enough, and so it worked.
Yeah. For sure, and Rob really has been working on his defense there, I feel like, because I was like, wow, he was ready with the points.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was interesting conversation seeing Wes then try to defend himself and it was not working the same way that it was working for Rob. But also Carolyn then interrupts Wes or interrupts saying that Wes is being used as a scapegoat and emotionally goes after Danielle for creating lies and chaos. So at this point, I was like, oh, nothing's happening with Carolyn and Danielle. I was like, this was the conversation. And then when she jumps in, I was like, wow, I was not expecting this in this moment because it was so much about Wes and Rob that no one was going to change their opinion towards Danielle. I felt like in this moment,
Yeah.
but Carolyn just really wanted to bring it up. And obviously, Danielle was not happy about that. And then this is when we see Brittany saying, oh, I never said your name.
Yeah.
But Carolyn just knew. So there was drama there as well with the girls.
Yeah, I think that, with Carolyn, I don't even know if Carolyn really thought, like, oh, I'm going to get Danielle out this episode, but I think
Mhm.
she has to kind of keep planting that seed
Yeah.
towards Danielle so that eventually in an episode or two, in a future roundtable, Danielle's name will already kind of be in the air and it won't feel like it's just coming out of nowhere when she actually like is really trying to make it happen that night.
Yeah.
So, I
No,
think
it
that's
definitely
gonna
was
be
smart, but I feel like the way that it came up, like, she could've maybe I know she's brought up to, I guess, maybe a few people in the house, but not a ton, and, like, people could just think, like, it was purely emotional and not really the game of it,
yeah.
so I'm hoping people would still believe her in the next couple of weeks if we see her bringing up it again, or if she's able to let it rest. I don't know what's gonna happen with that.
Yeah, I
Um
mean, I think that this is just making her look more like a faithful, though. If she's doing this kind of emotional vote, emotional speech, like, I feel like as a faithful, I'm going to think Carolyn's not going to go this hard at another traitor. Like, she's not going to continually roundtable after roundtable, like, in every moment trying to get out her fellow traitor. Like, it would be one of those things where I would think, like, okay, I could see her kind of going with that maybe if, she wants her out. But I just wouldn't think that a trader would do that to another trader like that hardcore. So I don't know. I really think right now there would be zero suspicion on Carolyn for me.
Yeah, and, like, everyone who's heard someone say like, if they hear Danielle say Carolyn, they're always like, "No way, like, I couldn't see that." So, I think
Yeah.
it's obviously Carolyn's, I would say, seen as the faithful right now too, so at least it's good
Yeah.
for her.
And I think a lot of that too is just them underestimating Carolyn, like they
Yeah.
did on Survivor. I mean, just because of kind of her personality and her everything about her, like, I think that people really tend to underestimate her abilities to actually play the game, and they think that
Yeah.
Carolyn's just the type of person who could never lie, could never keep up this charade as a traitor, that she just wouldn't be capable of doing that, and she is more than capable of doing it. Clearly, that she's doing a better job than five-time Survivor player Boston Rob, and many say best to never win Big Brother to Danielle Reyes. That
Yeah.
Carolyn, this new era one-time Survivor player, is outplaying both of them. I think for sure as traders. So, and I think that they are vastly underestimating her, and I am very interested to see if Carolyn does ever come back to another show, whether she can still get away with it.
Yeah. I don't know, because she does continue to be underestimated, so maybe it's a trend or maybe someone will catch on,
She
but
could be. I think she's a strong candidate for Survivor 50. So we will
yeah.
see.
No, I love her, so I would love to see her on Survivor 50. But
100%.
this was a very dramatic voting. I still wasn't sure once they were reading the votes who was gonna go between Rob and Wes. So it came down to it with Wes being banished with 7 votes and Rob receiving 5. And one of those for Rob was actually from Danielle, fellow traitor. And then Wes reveals that he's a faithful. What were your thoughts on those votes?
I was really surprised by Danielle's vote.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it. I thought if anything, she would vote Carolyn,
Mhm.
but she voted Rob, and that was very confusing to me because this vote was so close. Like that could have been the deciding vote, and I don't
Mhm.
know. Like, would she want that to be the deciding vote, or was she only doing that because she thought the votes were going that way? Like, the vast majority, and she was surprised that it ended up being Wes. I don't know, but I would be very curious to hear that from her now, kind of what her thought process was voting for Rob there.
Yeah, I agree, and I feel like it like, she was wanting to make it so it, like, make sense, and, like, that didn't really make sense. Like, her vote, like, there she was make she wa I think she wanted it to be that Rob was actually gonna go home if she voted for him, and then the fact that he didn't, now all the traitors voted for each other. Like, Carolyn voted for Da oh, yes, no one voted for Carolyn, but Carolyn voted for
Yeah.
Danielle, and Danielle voted for Rob, like,
I
they
know, it's a mess.
they all they're all, like, targeting each other now, but I don't know. These traders are just messy, and it's making for some entertaining episodes, so I can't complain.
No, it's really crazy how all 3 of the traders' names were brought up at this round table, like, heavily,
Yeah.
and none of them went home.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like, I thought really, like, after watching the preview of this episode last week, after the episode, I thought, "Oh, 100% one of them is going home." It really seems like their names are being the ones being brought up here, and I thought, "Okay, it's just a matter of which trader is gonna go home tonight," but nope. somehow they are all still there, all going back to the turret to kill each other.
I know. It was a crazy round table. I don't know how they're gonna top this one, but maybe we'll see some more.
Somehow,
Some Yes.
somehow, I'm sure they will. The show continues to outdo itself week after week.
Oh, yes. But the episode did not end there. We go back to the castle, and then Brittany confronts Derek for lying to her about going after Rob because Brittany had talked to Derek earlier, and Derek was basically just saying, "Well, I'm not going to go after Rob." But that was to protect himself, I guess. She wasn't sure like how she was going to react because they were close,
Yeah.
Brittany and Rob. So he didn't want her to go to Rob and tell him about the whole thing. So I
I
trust
love
that.
Brittany. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was
I
gonna
love
say
Brittany
I
pulling.
believe that what Brittany did or what Derek did there was the right thing in that moment.
Yeah. I just love Brittany, like, pulling Derek aside, like, "Derek, I'm gonna go yell at you right now." And then she's like, "You are a dirty scumbag liar." And she started out. Like,
I know.
that's why Brittany's so great. I just
That
love
was
her.
great. I know. I love that moment. But then Derek accuses Brittany of being a traitor, and because of this and how she was trying to defend Rob and all this, and like we know Brittany's not, but I don't think Derek is right here at all. Obviously, he's right about Rob, but he's not right about Brittany.
Yeah,
Um,
Detective Brittany I mean, sorry, Detective Derek, solving crimes here, thinking Brittany's a traitor. I don't know where that came from exactly, but
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's now bringing off suspicion off of Danielle a little bit, even though people hadn't really been talking about her a
yeah.
ton, which they should be going back to Danielle because she is a traitor. But obviously, people are going to guess wrong all the time. So,
I mean, this was a better episode for Danielle for sure in terms of
yeah,
I think like she didn't get any votes except for Carolyn's at the round
yeah.
table. So I mean, that
And
makes
she
me think
didn't bring
that
up Carolyn's name, which she
yeah.
said she was going to do. Carolyn just still was mad about the day before.
Well, because Danielle said I'm going to fix it. So like
Yeah,
you would think that that would mean that Danielle would try to steer people away from Carolyn, but from what we saw,
yeah,
yes, she didn't bring her name up again, but she also didn't do anything to fix what she did the day before. So I think
that's
that
true.
if I was Carolyn, yeah, I'd still be pissed at Danielle because you didn't do anything to help my case.
Yeah. But then we also saw that Derek then goes to Dylan to tell him that he thinks that Brittany is a traitor. So, Derek and sorry, it says that Brittany and Rob are traitors, but Dylan really, he doesn't really have that big of a reaction there. I think he's just like taking it in.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Dylan's so close to Rob that I just
Yeah,
can't imagine really that this would land for him. I think it's kind of the wrong audience, but I mean, also I think that Dylan and Brittany are pretty close too. It seems like
yeah,
so. I feel like this is probably falling on deaf ears.
yeah. I agree. I don't think that's gonna work for Derek's opinion or for what's gonna work for next week. I don't know what we're gonna
Yeah,
see
who do
at
you
the
think
roundtable.
is gonna get murdered?
Oh, that's hard. I don't want it to be Derek because obviously then it's gonna make it boring. I kind of like Derek being there because he's stirring up some stuff. Um, but I feel like I don't know. It's a hard one. Maybe Ivar.
Hmm.
Who do you think?
I mean, I think that if they wanna just kind of, like, cause chaos, yeah, it would be someone like Ivor or Sam. Just
Mhm.
someone completely random, probably doesn't have too many close ties to anybody. So, I think that that would probably be the direction they'd wanna go if that was their goal. But I could also see someone like Derek. I mean, I could see them doing Derek, and, I mean, look, I'm fine with that. Nobody goes after Mike Bloom and gets away with it, so I'm fine with Cody Calafiori's friend leaving here if that has to happen. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm excited to see what's gonna happen. But we did get to see the traders go into the turret, and they continue to argue with each other. And Carolyn says she will be going after Danielle, who says she's gonna fight back. So there's just even more tension there, especially after her name was brought up at the round table. So I'm excited to see what's gonna happen, who they're gonna kill, and all this stuff, but this episode was just insane.
Yeah, I mean this ending, like we cannot emphasize enough how incredible the television this ending was when they
Oh,
went
yeah.
back to the turret. My I had chills
Mhm.
watching. I've never seen Rob Mariano after 5 seasons of Survivor, season of Dondi, like he is a season to season reality television star as it gets. And his face, he had never seen anything like this. I mean, he
Mhm.
was like shocked and horrified at what he was watching between Danielle and Carolyn. Like from Carolyn saying from from Carolyn saying like, "Yeah, I guess we just have to go after Danielle." Like and then Danielle saying, "Okay, bring it. I'm going to defend myself." And Danielle saying she's just going to kind of like spread lies about Carolyn and Carol like I mean this was just wild. It was
Yeah.
wild and I've never seen anything like it. I have watched it probably 5 times already.
Yeah, no, it was great television. I hope that is soundproof because I don't know if there are people around there on the outside.
No, I think, and I could be wrong about this.
Yeah.
I think that they have everybody go back to the hotels that
Oh,
they stay because they don't actually sleep in the castle.
yeah.
So, I think what they do is they bring everybody back to the hotels because that way they're all in their individual rooms and they can't see, like, who's coming and going, and
Mhm.
then they bring back the traitors at a certain hour,
Oh,
and so
that
they're the
makes sense.
only ones in the castle at that time, so there's no chance of anybody hearing them.
Yeah, okay, well, that makes sense. But yeah, I know that was a crazy turret, and I wanna see more of it, so we'll have to wait
Can we
till
get the
next week.
extended cut? Can we just get
Yeah.
live feeds from the turret? That's what I need, truly.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It was crazy craziness. But it's fun when the traders hate each other because then we get those
I
exciting turrets.
know. I know. I need this every season from now on, I think, because
Yeah,
now it's gonna feel so boring when we get 3 traders who actually are, like, on the same page and get along, like, I don't want that.
I know. But I'm excited to see what's gonna happen next week. Any final thoughts from this week's episode?
I mean, no, I said it at the beginning of the episode, but I truly think the more I think of it that from just start to finish, I think that this was probably the best episode of The Traders I've seen. And like I said, I mean, there's a few seasons I have not seen of The Traders internationally. So look, this opinion may be not valid, but I have seen the latest Canada season. I'm halfway through the latest UK season, obviously all the US ones. So of the ones that I've seen, I think this is my favorite episode of all
Yeah, I agree. I was even up late watching it, like, I couldn't stop, like,
time.
sometimes if I start an episode late at night and I would be like, "Okay, I can fall asleep now," like, I couldn't stop this one. Even if I was
Yeah.
losing sleep, I was
Yeah.
like, "I have to finish this episode."
I know. It was really great because it was just, I mean, chaos from beginning to end. It wasn't like I think the round table with Bob versus Rob might be a better round table just specifically, but I think that from start to finish of this episode, there were just so many great moments that
Oh,
that
yeah.
I think like that makes it go higher to me just as an episode.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But we'll be back with another episode early in the week on Monday talking about the challenge as our 100th episode.
Oh my god.
So that's crazy that we're almost at
Wild.
100.
We started this April 23rd of 2023. We recorded our first episode. So it's
Yeah,
been a while. But
I
yeah,
know.
100 episodes.
The
That's
traders came
crazy.
out in the mix of this, and a mix of us starting, right?
Did no, season 1 had
Oh,
already come
season 1
out.
had already come out.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
it just
season
come
1.
out.
It had just come out. I think it came out in March of 2023 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so it
I
was fairly
maybe
new.
January. I can't remember anymore. No, I think it was January. I think they've all come out in January actually. But yeah, no, still. I mean not long before. So,
So
Yeah, a
we've
lot's
been there
happened.
as long as Traitors has been there, basically.
Yes. Yes.
But
So,
yes,
no, thank you guys for listening for whether this is your first episode, 100th episode, 50th episode, whatever it is. Thank you guys for sticking with us. We really appreciate it. And, yeah,
yes, we love you guys, and make sure you're subscribed to us at Let's Chat Reality wherever you get your podcasts, and on Instagram and on TikTok as well, while we still have it, at Let's Chat Reality on everything. So, we'll talk with y'all soon. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye, everyone.